Food delivery should be simple, but for some, it's a chance to wage war on reality itself. Forget cold fries. We're exploring complaints so bizarre they sound like fever dreams. Today, we're dissecting 55 of the most unhinged, reality-bending, and genuinely hilarious grievances ever filed against food delivery services. These are the stories that make you question if we're all living on the same planet. 1. A girl from Phoenix, Arizona, demanded a full refund for her order, not because it was late or incorrect, but because the delivery driver's name was Kevin. In her detailed complaint, she explained that her ex-boyfriend, also named Kevin, had ruined her life forever. Just seeing the name on the delivery tracker allegedly triggered a Pavlovian response of disappointment, which she said ruined the entire meal. She argued that the app should have a feature that allows users to block drivers with the names of their ex-partners in advance to prevent emotional contamination of food. 2. A woman demanded a refund after receiving her digital receipt. The total for her order came to $13.13. She claimed that this aggressively unlucky number was a clear and potent bad omen that had placed a hex on her food. She refused to even open the bag, convinced that consuming the meal would invite misfortune into her home. She argued the company's billing system should have an algorithm to flag and adjust numerologically sinister totals. 3. Imagine complaining that a service is too good. A user in Seattle left a scathing review because his food arrived in 15 minutes when the app estimated 40. His problem? He had timed his shower and his pre-dinner relaxation ritual for a 40-minute window. The driver's shocking efficiency completely threw off his entire evening schedule, forcing him to eat his burger in a state of unprepared frenzy. The audacity of that punctual driver. 4. A woman left a 1-star review because her delivery driver was unwilling to engage. When he arrived, she tried to vent to him for a few minutes about her terrible day at work. The driver, polite but clearly in a hurry, simply handed her the food and left. She complained that the service fee should cover at least 2 minutes of active listening or feigned sympathy, arguing that the human connection, however brief, is an integral part of the delivery service. 5. A customer demanded a refund on a gourmet burger and fries because his dog, a beagle named Cooper, refused to eat the single French fry he dropped on the floor. He argued that if an animal that routinely eats dirt, socks, and its own vomit turns down your food, it must be unfit for consumption by any living creature. The restaurant was sent a detailed report on Cooper's usually non-discerning palate as evidence. 6. A history buff with way too much time on his hands ordered a Caesar salad and was absolutely livid. His complaint had nothing to do with the croutons or the dressing. He was outraged that the salad, named after its creator Caesar Cardini, had no connection whatsoever to the Roman Emperor Julius Caesar. He accused the restaurant of perpetuating a historical falsehood and casually appropriating the gravitas of the Roman Empire for a simple lettuce dish. He was demanding a correction on the menu, not a refund. 7. One person complained that their salad was too green. They weren't alleging it was underripe or had gone bad. Their issue was purely aesthetic. The complaint described the dish as a monotonous landscape of green and lamented the lack of a diverse color palette. They suggested the restaurant should have included more red onions or yellow peppers, not for taste, but to make the salad more visually stimulating. The poor chef didn't realize he was being judged by art critic standards. 8. A customer ordered a menu item called the Flavor Explosion Burger. He then complained because upon biting into it, there was no literal explosion. He described the experience as deceptively stable. He genuinely expected some kind of audible pop or minor structural detonation to accompany the taste. He accused the restaurant of using hyperbolic, non-literal marketing and demanded a refund because the burger's name promised a level of kinetic energy that the actual product completely failed to deliver. 9. This one ventures into the supernatural. A customer complained that the driver had a negative aura, that likely seeped into the food. The delivery was on time, the order was correct, and the food was hot. But the customer saw the driver through their Ring doorbell and felt a palpable sense of doom, which they were certain had contaminated their pad thai. They requested a refund and for the driver to be sent on a spiritual cleansing retreat. 10. A man ordering from a high-end steakhouse complained that his medium-rare steak was too quiet. He explained in his review that a truly great steak should have a confident sizzle that you can hear even through the container. The silence of his filet mignon, he claimed, was a sign of a timid cut of meat that lacked the auditory charisma he expected for that price point. He wasn't just a diner, he was an audience member, and the steak's performance was lackluster. 11. A man in Denver filed a complaint after watching his driver's progress on the GPS map. His issue wasn't the speed, but the route itself. He accused the driver of taking an emotionally bleak and uninspired path to his house. He argued that for the price of the delivery fee, he expected a journey with more optimistic turns and fewer straight lines through industrial areas. He was essentially providing art direction for the driver's commute, demanding a more scenic and uplifting narrative for his burrito's voyage. 12. This is a sign of our times. A user left a 1-star review because her avocado toast and artisan coffee arrived unphotogenic. She complained that the foam on her latte had slightly dissipated and the avocado was poorly composed, making it impossible for her to get a good shot for her Instagram feed. Her complaint stated that the meal's primary purpose was social media content, and its failure in that regard made its quality as actual food completely irrelevant. 13. Apparently, the delivery fee should also cover compliments. A woman complained that her driver showed a shocking lack of observation. The driver delivered the food, said thank you, and left, completely failing to comment on her brand-new, custom-painted front door. She felt that after all the effort she put in, a simple, "Wow, nice door," wasn't too much to ask. The driver's efficiency was perceived as a snub to her interior design choices. 14. In Miami, a city known for its vibrant colors, a customer complained that his spicy taco platter was delivered in a beige Toyota Camry. He described this as an aggressive aesthetic betrayal. He insisted that the mundane and soulless color of the vehicle actively sucked the excitement out of his food before it even reached his door. He suggested the app should allow users to select the color of the delivery car to ensure it matches the vibe of their chosen cuisine. 15. This one requires a certain level of culinary empathy. A customer lodged a complaint against a chicken sandwich shop because while the sandwich was cooked perfectly, they could taste the chicken's emotional state. They claimed the poultry had a resigned and deeply melancholic energy, suggesting it had lived an unfulfilling life. They weren't complaining about the flavor, but the lack of palpable joy in the meat, and demanded to know more about the farm's emotional support programs for its birds. 16. A music teacher in Boston complained that the driver's knock on his door was completely arrhythmic. In his review, he described the 3-knock sequence as having a jarring cadence that lacked any semblance of musicality, calling it a percussive assault. He seriously suggested that the delivery service should provide training to its drivers on basic musical theory or, at the very least, offer customers a choice of knocking patterns in the app. 17. A woman complained that her order of BBQ ribs smelled irresponsibly delicious. The problem was that the aroma was so potent it lured the notoriously aggressive neighborhood tomcat onto her porch, resulting in a tense standoff that prevented her from retrieving her food. She blamed the restaurant directly for creating a public nuisance, with a product whose scent was too powerful for a residential area, demanding compensation for her emotional distress and the delayed consumption of her dinner. 18. This one is about a clash of moods. A customer complained that the app's cheerful, high-pitched, "Your food has arrived" notification sound completely ruined the vibe of the sad, dramatic movie she was watching. She argued that the app should have a feature that scans the ambient sound in the room and adjusts its notification to be more tonally appropriate, perhaps a somber, respectful chime for moments of on-screen tragedy. The app's good news was simply too happy for her. 19. A user complained that the app's GPS tracker was too honest. He watched his driver's icon pull into a McDonald's drive-thru and sit there for 3 minutes before proceeding to his address. His complaint wasn't about the delay, but about the psychological damage of knowing his driver was fueling up on inferior food before delivering his gourmet sushi. He claimed this knowledge cheapened his entire dining experience and made him question the driver's commitment to culinary excellence. 20. We've had complaints about the sight and smell, but this one is about sound. A customer was very unhappy with the hostile acoustics of the delivery bag. He described the crinkling of the paper bag as a high-frequency, anxiety-inducing sound that ruined the tranquility of the handoff. He proposed that the company invest in acoustically calming delivery materials, such as soft-woven felt or recycled cotton, to provide a more sonically serene customer experience. 21. A customer in Portland, Oregon, filed a formal complaint because the delivery driver's car had a bumper sticker that read, "My other car is a TARDIS." The customer had ordered from a restaurant called Vampire Vegan and argued that mixing science fiction fandoms, specifically Doctor Who, with a gothic vampire theme was a jarring tonal clash that undermined the thematic purity of the dining experience. He insisted the app should match drivers with customers based on compatible pop culture interests. 22. A struggling novelist, hoping for a creative breakthrough, ordered a brain food power bowl filled with salmon, quinoa, and blueberries. An hour after eating, he filed a complaint. His reason? He was still suffering from writer's block. He accused the restaurant of making false claims, arguing that a product marketed as brain food had a direct obligation to stimulate the hippocampus and generate at least 2 viable plot points. The bowl was food, not a muse, and that was unacceptable. 23. Ordering a baker's choice. Dozen donuts is a gamble, a delicious leap of faith into the unknown. But for one customer in Ohio, that faith was completely shattered. Upon opening the box, she was appalled by the selection, which included what she called 3 unforgivable jelly-filled atrocities. Her official complaint wasn't about the freshness or quality. It was a direct and personal attack on the baker's judgment. She stated that the baker's personal taste was, and I quote, fundamentally flawed and an insult to the art of baking. She had willingly paid for a surprise, only to demand a refund on the grounds that she simply disagreed with the choices made for her. 24. There's always one who takes things literally, but this is next level. A man in Florida ordered boneless wings and then lodged a furious complaint, complete with photos, because he couldn't find any wing bones anywhere in the box. He accused the restaurant of false advertising, arguing that, to be boneless, the wings must have first had bones which were then skillfully removed. He wasn't ordering chicken nuggets. He was ordering the evidence of deboning. 25. The special instructions box strikes. A customer in San Diego, feeling whimsical, requested the driver draw a cool wizard on the pizza box. The driver, who was apparently a secret art prodigy, delivered a masterpiece, a photorealistic Gandalf-level wizard that was genuinely stunning. The customer's complaint? The drawing was so good it made him feel artistically inadequate and deeply untalented by comparison. He claimed the driver's superior skill ruined his appetite and demanded a refund for the emotional damage caused by this unexpected display of talent. 26. A complaint was filed against a sandwich shop over a breach of mythological contract. A man ordered a sandwich named the Kraken and was furious when it arrived. He argued that a sandwich bearing the name of a legendary sea monster should be terrifyingly large and difficult to conquer. The one he received was, in his words, perfectly manageable and not even particularly damp. He felt the name set expectations of an epic battle, but all he got was a tasty, reasonably sized lunch. 27. Here's a complaint about a product being too good. A customer left a 1-star review for a Thai restaurant, stating that their pad see ew was so transcendentally delicious that it had permanently ruined all other food for him. He claimed that every meal he'd eaten since tasted like ash and disappointment. He demanded compensation not for the meal itself, but for the curse of a perfected palate that the restaurant had bestowed upon him, dooming him to a life of culinary dissatisfaction. 28. This is a new frontier in nitpicking: the ergonomics of the handoff. A customer complained that the delivery driver handed him the food bag with their left hand. The customer, who is right-handed, found this to be an unnatural and inconsiderate exchange, which forced him to perform an awkward receiving maneuver. He stated the unexpected left-handed delivery caused a moment of disorienting physical confusion that soured the start of his meal. 29. This one is a masterpiece of shifting blame. A woman filed a 1-star review stating the delivery app was directly responsible for her failing her New Year's resolution diet. Her complaint argued that the app's interface was too tempting and that it should have a feature to lock her out after she'd hit her daily calorie limit. She genuinely requested that the developers create a digital willpower function because her own had clearly logged off for the evening. 30. A customer ordered 2 identical large pizzas for a pizza eating race with his friend. He lodged a furious complaint, complete with photographic evidence using a tape measure, because one pizza was a 1/4 inch wider than the other. He argued that this blatant manufacturing inconsistency gave his friend an unfair competitive advantage. He demanded a refund for the pizza that was deemed non-regulation size, citing the compromised integrity of the competition. 31. In a moment of profound loneliness, a man living alone ordered a family meal for 4. He then filed a complaint because the sheer volume of food sitting there on his small dining table served as a stark and depressing monument to his solitude. He wasn't unhappy with the quality. He was upset that the meal fulfilled its description too accurately, forcing him into an existential crisis. He suggested the restaurant should rename it the meal for one person who is very, very hungry. 32. One tech-savvy customer was deeply troubled by the physics of his delivery. He complained about the condensation that had formed on the inside of the clear plastic lid of his pasta container. He argued that the water droplets obscured the beautiful presentation of the dish and that the pattern of the condensation was chaotic and aesthetically displeasing. He felt that for what he paid, the restaurant should have found a way to better manage the thermodynamics of the packaging. 33. You have to admire the level of overthinking here. A customer was deeply unsettled by the cartoon chef depicted on his pizza box. He claimed the chef's smile was less one of culinary joy and more of a smug, condescending smirk. He was convinced the cartoon was silently judging his topping choices, specifically the pineapple, and the perceived disapproval from a fictional ink-based character was enough to ruin his entire dinner. He demanded a pizza box with a more emotionally neutral mascot. 34. A user ordered a thick, delicious milkshake, but was incensed by the paper straw that came with it. His complaint wasn't just that it got soggy. He described the situation as a high-stakes race against time and moisture. He claimed the gradual structural failure of the straw turned a relaxing treat into a frantic, high-anxiety slurping event as he fought to finish the milkshake before the straw dissolved into a useless pulp. He wanted a refund for the emotional toll of the experience. 35. A customer in New Orleans, home of elaborate cuisine, lodged a furious complaint after ordering bananas Foster for delivery. His reason? The dish wasn't on fire when it arrived. He genuinely expected the restaurant to have figured out a way to safely transport an open flame, or for the driver to perform the pyrotechnic tableside experience on his doorstep. He accused the restaurant of false advertising, arguing that the fiery spectacle was the main ingredient he was paying for. He wasn't just ordering dessert, he was ordering dinner and a show, delivered. 36. This complaint ventures into full-blown conspiracy theory. A man ordered a pizza with extra olives and became convinced that their random placement on the pizza was not random at all. He meticulously photographed the pie and argued in his complaint that the olives formed a coded, vaguely threatening message from the kitchen staff. He couldn't decipher the message, but he was certain it was sinister and demanded to know why the pizzaiolo was communicating with him through cured fruit. 37. In a surprising twist on the usual environmental concerns, a man complained that the packaging for his sushi was too biodegradable. He described the recycled cardboard container as flimsy and morally preachy. He claimed that the reassuring, indestructible nature of plastic was part of the luxury takeaway experience, and this flimsy, earth-friendly box made his expensive sashimi feel like a sad art school project. He missed the feeling of guilt-inducing, landfill-clogging permanence. 38. A customer with too much time on his hands complained about his hand-tossed pizza. He argued that the crust lacked the energetic signature of a truly artisanal toss. While he had no evidence, he claimed his palate could detect the soulless uniformity of a machine-spun dough. He wasn't tasting ingredients. He was tasting the kinetic history of the pizza's creation, and he found its origin story to be thoroughly uninspired and likely fraudulent. 39. Here, a simple pleasantry becomes a federal case. A customer complained that when the driver handed him his food and said, "Enjoy your meal," his tone was dripping with insincere, sarcastic judgment. The customer proceeded to write a 3-paragraph analysis of the driver's inflection, concluding that it was a microaggression designed to mock his choice of ordering a double bacon cheeseburger. He felt the driver's 5 words had shamed his appetite. 40. One customer ordered an extra spicy vindaloo curry and complained that it was delivered during a full moon. They claimed to be lunarly sensitive and argued that the restaurant should know that a full moon dramatically amplifies the perceived heat of capsaicin. The dish, which would have been perfectly fine any other night, was now astrologically inedible. They demanded the restaurant cross-reference its delivery schedule with the Farmer's Almanac to prevent future cosmic culinary mishaps. 41. The special instructions box is where hope and reality often collide. A customer in Las Vegas used it to order a pint of ice cream with a physically impossible request. Please have the ice cream completely melted but also still frozen. The restaurant staff, presumably baffled, delivered the pint in its intended frozen state. The customer was furious, filing a complaint that the restaurant showed a complete failure of imagination and blatantly ignored a clear directive. They weren't ordering ice cream, they were ordering a culinary paradox, and were genuinely angry that the laws of physics had been followed. 42. Here's a complaint that sounds more like a weather report. A woman in Chicago complained that her soup arrived at a temperature inconsistent with the current outdoor wind chill. She believed the delivery service should have an algorithm that cross-references the item ordered with local weather data to ensure the food's temperature provides optimal thermal comfort upon arrival. She wasn't just ordering soup, she was ordering a personalized heating solution. 43. This complaint is about subconscious trespassing. A customer ate a very spicy jambalaya and then had a vivid, bizarre dream about being chased by a jazz-playing alligator. He filed a formal complaint against the restaurant, claiming their irresponsibly potent spice blend had hacked his REM cycle and caused the nightmare. He argued that the restaurant was liable for the emotional distress caused by the dream and should include a warning on the menu about potential oneric side effects. 44. You can't make this stuff up. A man filed a complaint because the delivery driver's shadow fell across his prize-winning petunia bed as he walked up the path to the door. He attached a diagram of the incident, arguing that the disrespectful trajectory of the driver's silhouette could have emotionally stunted the flower's growth. He wasn't worried about the driver stepping on them. just the momentary darkness cast by his presence. He suggested drivers should be trained in solar-aware delivery paths. 45. This is a new level of brand loyalty. A customer who ordered 2 coffees and a dozen donuts from Dunkin' became enraged when the delivery driver arrived holding a personal Starbucks cup. He called it a flagrant conflict of interest and a deeply offensive act of corporate betrayal. He argued that drivers should be contractually obligated to only consume products from the restaurant they are currently delivering for, to avoid creating a geopolitical beverage conflict on the customer's doorstep. 46. A customer left a 1-star review for a Mexican restaurant because his burrito was wrapped so securely that no ingredients spilled out during delivery. He claimed the whole point of a delivery burrito is the slight deconstruction that occurs in transit, creating a fun, messy, authentic experience. The perfectly intact burrito, he argued, felt sterile, corporate, and joyless. He was basically complaining about quality control being too effective. 47. This one is about the little things. A man lodged a complaint about the ice cubes in his soda. He claimed they were too pointy. He described the aggressive angularity of the frozen water as a textural assault on his tongue and the roof of his mouth. He wasn't complaining about the amount of ice, just its hostile geometry. He suggested the restaurant switch to a provider of more rounded, emotionally gentle ice cubes for a safer drinking experience. 48. A customer who ordered Chinese food complained that his fortune cookie contained the message, "You will have a day." He was furious. He called it a lazy, nihilistic prophecy and claimed it cast a shadow of utter pointlessness over his entire meal. He argued that the restaurant had a contractual obligation to provide a fortune that was, at minimum, vaguely encouraging or amusingly specific. The sheer blandness of his destiny was, apparently, grounds for a full refund on his General Tio's chicken. 49. A longtime regular at an Italian restaurant ordered his favorite pasta dish, only to discover the chef had added sun-dried tomatoes as a new, unannounced ingredient. His complaint read like a legal document, accusing the restaurant of retconning a classic without proper warning. He demanded that menus should have a spoiler alert for any changes to established recipes, as the unexpected tomato was a narrative betrayal that ruined the nostalgic integrity of his meal. 50. A couple ordered 2 identical meals, but the experience was anything but equal. The man filed a complaint because his wife received 1 extra napkin in her bag. This small discrepancy apparently sowed seeds of domestic discord, leading to a 20-minute argument about who was the restaurant's favored customer. He accused the establishment of passive-aggressively playing favorites and demanded they implement a strict, standardized napkin distribution policy to save other relationships from similar turmoil. 51. Get ready for this one. A customer filed a complaint based on what can only be described as forensic olfactory analysis. The food was fine, the delivery was on time, but the driver himself, he smelled of betrayal. The customer claimed the driver had the faint but distinct aroma of a rival pizza chain on his jacket. He accused the driver of being a double agent and was convinced this olfactory treason had spiritually contaminated his own pizza, making it taste like compromise and divided loyalties. 52. This is a new peak of entitlement. A man ordered a custom-named burger from a local joint called the Armageddon Burger. He then sent a cease and desist letter to the restaurant, claiming that he had come up with the name Armageddon Burger in a private conversation with his friend 2 years prior. He argued this constituted a verbal trademark and that the restaurant was committing intellectual property theft. He wasn't asking for a refund. He was demanding royalties on every Armageddon burger they had ever sold. 53. A woman in a quiet suburban neighborhood complained that her delivery was too stealthy. The driver arrived in a fully electric vehicle, which made virtually no sound as it approached her house. She claimed this silent, predatory arrival was deeply unsettling and deprived her of the comforting auditory cue of an approaching internal combustion engine. She described the driver's sudden appearance at her door as a jump scare and suggested the app should have a feature to make electric cars play a friendly rumbling sound upon arrival. 54. A user who practiced daily meditation filed a complaint that his food delivery arrived at the exact moment he was achieving a profound state of cosmic oneness. The knock on the door, he claimed, violently ripped him from the astral plane, causing a case of severe existential whiplash. He wasn't just mad about the interruption. He argued that the delivery service had a moral responsibility to be more mindful of its customers' spiritual journeys. He demanded a refund for both the food and his lost enlightenment. 55. A complaint that breaks the laws of physics. A customer was watching his driver's icon on the GPS map when he saw something impossible. For a brief second, the icon duplicated, showing the driver on two parallel streets simultaneously before merging back into one. He immediately called customer service in a panic, claiming the delivery service was clearly experimenting with quantum tunneling or multiverse-hopping drivers. He refused to accept the food, certain that it had been exposed to a paradoxical temporal event and might now exist in multiple states of being eaten and not eaten at the same time. And that's our tour through the Delivery Complaint Hall of Fame, where common sense was clearly not on the menu. It's a wild world out there, full of people whose logic is even spicier than their vindaloo. Now, we're curious about your own experiences. How often do you find yourself using food delivery services? And more importantly, have you ever had a genuinely bizarre encounter that could have made this list? Let us know in the comments below. If these stories gave you a good laugh, do us a favor and hit that like button, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss our next deep dive into glorious absurdity.